checking to make sure that I'm not hitting any organs. Go all the way up to the anterior-most side of the body cavity. Once we get to kind of where the pectoral girdle starts, it gets a little too stiff to cut. And so we're going to go behind the pectoral girdle and cut up. Again, trying to make sure we don't cut any of the organs here. Leave them as intact as possible. Okay. Seems like we made it to the ventral side of the body cavity on there. I'm going to come down to the vent. Sorry, dorsal side of the body cavity. And cut up here as well. Be a little tough at times. Right. And then I'm just going to run my fingers along the inside of the body cavity to make sure I'm freeing all of that interstitial tissue. All right, wow, looks pretty darn clean. All right, so what we have here, is a coho salmon. It was very generously donated to this class by Fish and Wildlife. This guy just spawned or was about to spawn. Salmon died at the end of their life cycle, and so would have died either way, but thank this fish for its nice little sacrifice for all of us to learn a little bit more about the fish organs. I've already made the cut along the ventral side of the fish and then extended dorsally both on the anterior and posterior side of the body cavity. So that leaves us with this big skin flap here, which for the sake of this, I'm just going to cut it off, but wanted to leave it on for the start of the video so you guys knew it was there. So I'll go ahead, cut that off. You can hear me cutting through some of those bones. Oh yeah. Delicious. Just kidding, you would not want to eat this guy, not at this stage in his life. So right off the bat, we'll go ahead and just cut this pectoral fin as well to get a better visual. So right off the bat, we see kind of these like vague blobs of organs. Let's see if I can't move you a little bit closer. Yeah. So you have this big one right here, which we'll talk about in a second. This other kind of larger one that's more darkly colored. This one that's very much the color of like dark blood, and then some more tube-shaped organs as well. Now this organ, right off the bat, we notice that it has this connection towards the urogenital opening, the vent, or the anus, right? But part of it being the urogenital opening means it's a genital opening as well. And so if we look around in here gently, we can see that, oh, there's another one of these organs right here, right? And so right away, it's a paired organ, it's attached to the vent. To me, that screams gonad. So what this is, we'll go ahead and pull it out. Notice there's some of that connective tissue. And right away, you know, that milt is coming out, confirms our hypotheses that this is indeed a gonad. Specifically, wow, it's really in there. Specifically, this is a testy. So cut that out. Testy. Now, the color and texture can vary species to species, but within species, generally speaking, the testes are going to be, you know, more smooth. The eggs in the ovaries in the females of a species will usually create a slightly rougher texture for those gonads, but this is one of the testes. And again, we can see that other testy underneath on the other side of the body cavity, which is part of the reason that we came to the conclusion that this was gonad, paired organ in the body cavity. Now we move this back into place. We're going to extend our ventral cut just slightly more anterior, because in addition to the body cavity, there's this separate cavity up here. Don't want to be too aggressive with my scissors. So recall that under this opercular series, this covering, we have our gills here, right? Those beautiful filaments, those nice gill arches, those rakers in there. Remember, the function of the gills is to oxygenate the blood. And so what organ do you think would make the most sense to be closest to the part of the body that's oxygenating the blood? This one right here. The heart, right? The organ pumping the blood is probably going to be close to where the blood is getting its oxygen. Now, as we move from anterior to posterior side of the body cavity, we have this large organ right here. It's kind of, lobular shaped. It's dark colored. If you looked really closely, you would notice that it has kind of like almost a gritty texture on the inside. What does that mean to you? What organ do you think this one is right here? It's large, slightly anterior, slightly gritty. That's going to be our liver. Now, we'll see if we can find it, but sometimes you can find an organ that's usually slightly greenish in hue. Sometimes it's slightly yellow. Oh, there's some parasites in here, a little nematode. Having some trouble finding it right now. Perhaps this, yeah. So this greenish kind of organ down here, it's attached to the liver. If you have a green organ attached to the liver, what is that gonna be? It's gonna be tiny. And that's going to be our gallbladder. That's what secretes the liver bile. Now, if we move our liver out of the way, we have these finger-like projections, which have a very funny name. Do you remember the name? It's 2 words. Starts with a P and a C. These are our pyloric ceca. Again, those are part of the digestive tract. They help release secretions to help aid in digestion. And maybe this will give us a clue to our next organ. They're wrapped around this J-shaped organ that extends towards the esophagus. Seems pretty empty right now, but maybe that has the possibility to hold things in it. What do you think that organ might be, that J-shaped organ? I'll point with the scissors if it makes it easier. This J-shaped organ. That's going to be our stomach, right? Extends towards the esophagus, has the pyloric ceca, which aid in digestion, which should scream, this is the stomach. We're going to cut away some of the inter-organ membrane here. But similarly, attached to our stomach and our pyloric ceca, we have this long tube-like structure that's extending from the stomach and going all the way to the urogenital opening towards the vent, the anus. What do you think that might be? The intestine, right? It connects the contents of the stomach to the exit. And so, again, part of the digestive tract is the intestine. Now, you might be wondering, whoa, why is that stomach and intestine so small in this fish? Just part of the salmon life history. At this point in their life, this fish, as it's migrating through freshwater, isn't eating in any significant amount. And so the digestive organs become greatly reduced at this point in their life. The relative size of the digestive organs compared to the other organs in this particular fish isn't going to always be the same as it is in other species of fishes. Sorry, so we've got the heart, the liver, the gallbladder, the pyloric ceca, the stomach, the intestine. What's this big bloody sac? You know, there's this organ that helps with immune function, you know, helps process blood cells, things like that. If you've ever played contact sports and gotten really sick, your doctor might have told you no contact sports until you're better because this organ can get inflamed since it's going overtime on the immune system. And that is the spleen. And so this big bloody sac helps process blood cells. That's going to be the spleen. And then on the back here, I kind of nicked it with my scissors, unfortunately, but we have this membrane that once upon a time had air in it, which tell you it's the swim bladder. Yeah. And then behind the swim bladder, which we can't really see, but there's this other paired organ that's not in the body cavity, but is located on either side of the vertebral column at the very, very back of the body cavity / slightly embedded in the musculature. It's hard to see, but if you push back the swim bladder, you can sometimes see the dark coloration of it, and those are the kidneys. Yep. Let's try to put everything kind of back where it belongs. But yeah. So we have, just as a final review, we have our gills. The organ closest to the gills is its own separate special chamber. Is the heart. We have the liver as we move posteriorly. The liver can sometimes have multiple lobes, but underneath the liver, deep in there somewhere, there's a greenish organ, and that greenish organ, it's very small and attached to the liver, would be the gallbladder. This J-shaped organ is the stomach. The finger-like projections are the pyloric ceca. The tube organ that connects the stomach and digestive glands to the vent is going to be the intestines. This dark blood-colored organ is the spleen. This gas bladder in the back is going to be the swim bladder. Behind that, on either side of the vertebrae, is the kidney. And then this white organ that's all along the bottom side of the body cavity is the other gonad, intestine. I think that's all I have for you guys.